This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's going on, everybody? As we all know, mental health is a huge piece for me. And recently, as I become a better version of myself, I've decided that it's time for me to go to therapy because I understand how life can be a little overwhelming and we all need help navigating through the trenches of military service in and out of uniform. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, all you got to do is go to their site. Matter of fact, you can use my link right here. Answer a few questions and BetterHelp will match you with a professional who has years of experience in helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or computer via phone call or video chat or messaging, however you feel most comfortable. It's the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You will be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours so you can get started fast. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your home. Visit betterhelp.com/MeechSpeaks and enjoy a special discount on your first month. I don't know who need to hear this, but what's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of the Talking Crazy podcast. Now, before we get started with this podcast, head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, and leave this podcast an honest review, because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope your Monday is going good. I hope your week goes good. I hope your September goes good. You know what I mean? So with that being said, man, I just really want to just share a little bit of advice. You feel me? Y'all mind if I share some advice with everybody real quick, man? Because this was something because as you know, last week's episode, man, I told y'all a little bit of what I was going through. You know what I mean? And one thing that I've learned, man, is that God works in mysterious ways. You feel me? He may say something to somebody and they gonna say it to you, or he might put it on a fucking billboard or drop a lyric in somebody's song, or, you know, it might be even come into a commercial on the radio. You know what I mean? Or maybe, just maybe, it may not even be a lesson that you are experiencing. It might be a lesson that somebody else is experiencing that helps you get a little bit of realization about what's going on with your life. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what happened to me last week. Now, once again, you know that I'm a recruiter, and, you know, part of the gig is just me sitting down with applicants and doing an interview. And one applicant was talking to me about hope. You know what I mean? Like, he was really talking to me about hope, and he was just telling me that you can't be so quick to give up hope. You know, like, you can't be so quick to give up hope, especially if you haven't extinguished it yet. And I'll say that again because I don't know who need to hear this, but you can't be so quick to give up hope if you haven't extinguished it yet. And literally, right after I get done talking to him, I got to go and sit down with somebody else. You know what I mean? And we driving around because we got to go grab some documents. We got to grab some paperwork. You feel me? And on the document, it says something that neither one of us kind of didn't understand, you know? And we both sitting there like, man, dog, it ain't looking good. And he was just like, man, like, that's it, man. Like, we might as well just pack it up and walk out. And I'm like, hold on now. All right. Hey, go. Somebody in here, go grab a nurse real quick, because I think that, because I ain't medically qualified and I know that you ain't medically qualified. So let's go get somebody that's medically qualified to break this down before we start making decisions and making judgments and making final calls on shit that neither one of us actually know what's going on. So that's exactly what I did. I went and grabbed a nurse. She come back out. She look at the paperwork. She look over at him and she say, you know what? You're actually good. Here's the rest of your documents. I said, wait a minute. He good? She like, yeah, he good. As we walking out, I see him. He's smiling ear to ear. And I looked over at him and I smiled and I said, dog, man, you can't be quick to give up hope if you haven't extinguished it yet. You know what I mean? And that shit been weighing on my spirit, man. And I feel like I just had to share that with somebody, because I don't know who need to hear this right now. You know what I mean? I don't know who need to hear this. I don't know what battle you fighting right now. I don't know how hard it's been. I don't know how many no's you done took. I don't know how many fucking obstacles in your path. How the odds ain't in your fucking favor. How many times you keep getting counted out. How many times you feel like you want to give up. I'ma just say this real quick. You can't give up on hope if you have not fully extinguished it yet. You know what I mean? You can't give up on hope if you ain't fully extinguished it. If you haven't extinguished every single means to get to your goals, how dare you say that you about to give up on hope? If you ain't knocked on every fucking door, how dare you say that ain't no opportunity? If you haven't tried every single attempt, right? Like you ain't given every single attempt, how you gonna say that there's obstacles stopping you? You can't give up on hope if you haven't fully extinguished it yet. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. So today's episode, right? Now, earlier this week, I put out, once again, I said, hey, do me a favor and share your extraordinary thought with this ordinary mind. You know what I mean? Send me a topic and I might just talk about it on today's show. And I'm going to just go ahead and just say this, guys. Like, I really appreciate the fact that y'all sent me so many topics. All right. Now, there's a couple of topics in there that I just won't even fucking talk about. Y'all already know that. You already know that. Like, I'm not going to talk about that. However, there's some topics that might last me for the next 3 weeks, so trust me, as the episodes continue to keep coming out, you might actually be listening to your topic that you just sent me. Now, speaking of topics that I just got, shout out to xxruby.xx. I hope I said that correctly. But shout out to her because her topic was, what was life like before you joined the Marine Corps? And do you have any advice for Marines that are coming in? And this one kind of aligns to what I'm already in the business of doing. I mean, just like what everybody already knows, I'm a United States Marine Corps recruiter. I've been in the Marine Corps for almost 14 years. But one thing a lot of people don't know, man, like I'm from Detroit. You feel me? I'm from the East Side. And I know I've shared this before on air. I've talked a little bit about it. I've always give little snapshots about my life. But let's just really just dive deep into it because I don't really think I actually have talked about it that much. Have I actually talked about it? Fuck it. We about to now. So with that being said, one thing that I kind of always shied away from was just dedicating a whole episode to myself or talking about myself because I kind of felt like it'd be just egotistical, you know what I mean? But the amount of years that I've put into this organization and just the odds and the obstacles that I've overcame, I feel like I would be doing someone a disservice if I never shared it, So with that being said, man, a little bit about me for those who don't know. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, just like what I mentioned earlier, and being born and raised in Detroit, I promise you, if you've ever seen the movie 8 Mile, it's nothing like that. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and just say that it's nothing like that. We are not rap battling in Detroit. Okay. I was born on the East Side, raised in 48205. And for those who don't know, that's actually one of the most dangerous zip codes in Detroit. Now, I ain't realized that when I was a kid, but as I've grown and, as time has just went by, it's just now become one of the most dangerous zip codes in Detroit. So shout out to that. But growing up in Detroit, my mom, she graduated top of her class and she married, well, she ain't married. She got with my father and they had kids. Now, a little bit about my dad. My dad was an alcoholic, struggled with alcoholism, struggled with drug addiction. And the problem when you have an alcoholic in the family, you have an addict in the family, they tend to come in and out of your life. You know what I mean? They come in your life and they'll say hey, we want to get ourselves together. We going to be a family. I'm going to do right by you. Next thing you know, they get up and they leave again. And that cycle of opening up the wound, let it heal, open it up, let it heal, open it up, let it heal, continues. And to be honest, I never tell anybody how that truly affected me, but I'm going to be honest with you, it really made it very hard for me to form bonds with other people because I always expected them to leave. You know what I mean? I never really put my full trust in everybody because I always expected them to leave. And that was kind of my dynamic with my father. So unfortunately, my mother ended up having to raise me and my sister as a single mother. And she did the best that she could. I'm going to just be completely honest. My mother did the best that she could. And I don't know how many single mothers I have listening to this right now, but shout out to y'all because y'all truly do things that just go unnoticed. You know what I mean? You're Superman. You're the Tooth Fairy. You're fucking Santa Claus. You're the boogeyman chaser offer. You're a chef. You're a maid. You're mom. You're dad. Sometimes you even a fucking teacher. You know what I mean? You showing up to the game. So shout out to them, you know, because that was everything that my mother was. And I always appreciated her for that. But once again, she a single mom. So in the summers, she would have to take me and my sister over to my grandmother's house. Now, my relationship with my grandmother was not the greatest. I'm just be honest. Like, my relationship with my grandmother was never really the greatest. And the reason why is because, like, she worked hard for all the things that she had. And now that I'm older and I have kids, I kind of just understood that she just really just didn't like kids. Okay, that's just really what the dynamic was. She watching kids, but she really don't like kids, and it showed. But when we would be over there, like, she just was always one of those type of people that just, you know, she would say things and you would just sit back and just be like, yo, like, come on, Granny. Like, I don't think you needed to say that. You feel me? Like, I'm 8. I don't think you really need to say that to me. And it really give it, like, context between the relationship between her and I. I remember one time my breath wasn't smelling good. You know what I mean? Once again, I'm a kid, all right? I'm going to just say that real quick. I'm a kid, okay? Kids don't brush their teeth well at all. You know what I mean? And I remember one time I came in there and I was talking to her and she said, ooh, baby, do me a favor. Go in there and rebrush your teeth, okay? And I was like, I already did. She said, did you? Because it smelled like something crawled in your mouth, lived a long life, and died in it. And I sat there and I walked to the bathroom as I'm brushing my teeth and my gums starting to bleed because I'm brushing them so hard. And I'm like, damn, did you really have to say that shit to me, Granny? You know what I mean? Now, fast forward, I'm at her house. She watching us. And she comes up to me and she says, Demetrius, what do you want to be when you grow up? I looked at her and I told her, I said, I want to open up my own restaurant. And she said, baby, do you really, you know they don't make a lot of money, right? And I'm like, for real? Damn, okay, bad. So 2 weeks go by. She come back up to me again. And she asks me, and she says, baby, what do you want to be when you grow up? I say, I'm charismatic. You know, I like to make people laugh. I think I want to be a comedian. She says, baby, do you really want to be a joke for the rest of your life? Now, at this point, right, like at this point, you know, she's trying to do the best that she can, you know, to steer me on the right way. My grandmother was never a comedian. My grandmother didn't open up no restaurant. She just trying to give me the best advice that she fucking can. And I'm going to stop for a second because a lot of times, man, like we get talked out of our dreams by the closest ones to us, like our loved ones, like our parents, like our siblings, like our cousins. And it's not that they don't believe in you. They just don't believe in you doing that. You know what I mean? Or they just don't believe in what you're talking about. It's not that they don't believe in you. It's just my grandmother just never known anybody that owned their own restaurant. She didn't know any comedians. So she couldn't tell me the success of it. She could only tell me the perception that she had. And a lot of times, man, like people will talk you out of their dreams based off of the information that they have. And unfortunately, people only have this much information, you know, so they giving you this and telling you that this is gold when actually this ain't enough. This ain't enough. But because of what she said, I honestly didn't know what I wanted to be. And I would go into high school like that, you know, and I remember going into high school and everybody around me, man, like as 9th grade, you know, everybody don't know what they want to do. You know, that we just happy that we out of 8th grade. 10th grade, people are starting to form an idea of what they could possibly do. 11th grade, we're taking the ACTs now, guys. And at this point, everybody else is starting to realize like, yo, like, hey, I got an idea of what I want to go to college and do. I think I know what I want to do now. And I did not. And I remember when we were about to take our ACTs, because fun fact, I actually didn't take mine. All right. We were supposed to go to Macomb Community College. We had our names on the list and a couple of students' names didn't get called for some weird reason. Like, I guess like a couple of students' names didn't get called and mine was one of them. Everybody else around me is crying. You know what I mean? Like, they're crying, they're upset. I don't give a fuck. I didn't even want to be here to begin with. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know what the hell I was going to do when I got the test anyway. So I walked out, called my mama and said, hey, where you at? You still in the parking lot? She was like, I was just about to leave. I said, turn around, because my name ain't on the test. And I got up and I left. And my mom looked at me and she said, you ain't upset? I said, nah, for what? So by the time I graduated high school, my peers, they're already getting ready to go off to college. They're going to Western, they're going to Eastern. Some are trying to go to Michigan State. I know one said that he was going to go to Alabama. Everybody's going to fucking college. Me, I have no idea. And I just want to just say this, man, because I don't know who need to hear this and I don't know who listening. But if you in this position right now, man, like, I just really want to just say it's okay. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay to not know what you want to do, because it can be very stressful. And the problem is that a lot of times we don't know what we want to do, and we just hurry up and jump right into something thinking that we're going to either A, eventually love it, or B, that this is going to work out, and we end up either A, wasting more time, B, wasting money, or C, still trying to figure ourselves out. So I would tell you, dog, like, it's okay to not know what you want to do, but you got to start, like, asking yourself questions of what you should be doing. And those were things I didn't do. Those were things I did not do. I'm working at a grocery store. All right. It's 2008. And for those who don't know, man, like, in 2008, that's around the time that we had the recession, and that really, like, led to, like, yo, like, I'm in a bad spot, man. Everybody else losing their jobs too. And I remember one time I asked my counselors, I was like, do y'all think I should just join the military? And they laughed. They laughed. And they laughed talking about, like, the military wouldn't be good for you. You wouldn't fit in the military. You wouldn't last in the military. Boy, were they wrong. Boy, were they wrong. Oh my God, I wish I can go back in time and tell them, like, boy, were y'all wrong. But the military was just an idea then. It really didn't come to my mind until, like, one day I just had a bad day at work. I'm pushing carts. I'm tired of it. You know what I mean? It's raining on me. It's cold outside. I'm like, nah, dog. Like, I need to change my life. So I walk into a recruiting office. And as I was walking in, I run into, like, this recruiter. He wearing blue pants. He got a red stripe on his pants. He wearing a khaki shirt with a white hat. I think it's the ugliest thing that I've ever seen, bro. Like, I promise you, I thought that uniform was the ugliest thing that I ever saw. Fun fact, 14 years later, who would have known that that's a uniform that I'll be wearing every single day? Wow. Karma. You know what I mean? But I remember sitting down talking to him, and he pulled out the benefit tags and he asked me what I wanted to do. And I looked him dead in the face and I was like this, look, man, I ain't trying to get shot in a war that I don't know nothing about, because I can get shot around the corner. All I want to do is get out of Detroit. That's it. I just want to get out of Detroit. And I think the driving force behind me wanting to leave Detroit so bad was the simple fact that I just didn't see anything here. My peers are going off to college. Everybody tells us that we got to go to college to get a good job, and that good job's supposed to happen once we graduate. Well, we end up working at the factory. And the people that ain't doing that, they selling drugs. And usually the people that sell drugs end up going to jail, or they end up getting killed. And I knew for a fact I wasn't about to go to jail, and I ain't trying to get killed. So it seemed like the opportunities were real small. So I just said to myself, I was like, no, man, like, I need to leave. I need to see something bigger. And I want to be able to get paid doing it. So I signed up, you know what I mean? And at this time, I'm 18, so I signed all my paperwork, man. Like, my mom, nobody knows, like, bro, like, nobody knows that I'm doing this. I signed everything. And as I walk out, right, like, I come home and I think I told my neighbors first. And they grabbed my paperwork, bro. Like, they grabbed my paperwork. And they were like, do you want us to throw this away for you? Because they think that I'm getting drafted or some shit like that. And I'm like, nah, like, this is my future. Like, this is what I want to do. They like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you see the stuff that go on CNN? There's a war going on. You're going to get blown up, might get your legs blown off, come back with PTSD. And once again, just like what I said in the very beginning, and I don't know who need to hear this, and I don't know who at their crossroads right now, But you got to be careful when you listening to the advice of people that are real close to you. Because if they don't have experience in what you're talking about, right? If they don't have experience in your dream, and I don't know who need to hear this, man, but when you tell somebody about your dreams and aspirations and what the plan is for your life, you got to be careful. Because if they don't have experience in what you're talking about, they gonna say some shit that will lead you astray. They will say some shit that will cause you to back out of that plan. Look at God like he was the one that sent the wrong message. Whole time you having somebody else translate something that wasn't even meant for their eyes. And I remember going home to my mom and trying to explain to her, like, look, man, like, I'm joining the military. She like, no, you're not. I'm like, Mom, yes, I am. What else do you want me to do? College ain't working for me. I don't even fit in there. And for those who don't know, I did try college. I actually did try college. You know, I tried to give college like a try and realized I couldn't even fit in with the fucking nerds. I was too hood for the nerds, but I was too nerdy for the hood people. So I'm like, nah, I gotta figure something out. And I remember there was one person that actually spoke good on this. And it was my stepfather, Lionel. And Lionel had just got out of the Air Force. And he was explaining to my mom, like, yo, like, this is actually like a good idea for him. Like, this would be good for him. You know, he just got to make sure that he picked the right job. But this would actually be good for him. And I want to stop for a second, man, because as your loved ones are probably trying to talk you out of it, sometimes the best advice that you may receive may come from somebody that you don't like. You know what I mean? It may come from somebody that you wasn't expecting it to. It may come from somebody that you wouldn't even expect to give you some advice like this, you know? So I will always say this: be open to advice. Be open to advice. You ain't got to take every little bit of advice that comes your way, but at least have like a open ear to it, because you never know, man, who might actually give you some good advice. And Lionel actually did give me some good advice about that. So fast forward, I go to boot camp. All right. I go to boot camp. And I'm going to tell you right now, probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I say that it was one of the hardest things I ever done because it was the first time that I ever did it by myself. I didn't have my best friends with me. I didn't have my family with me. It felt like I was kind of locked up, you know, and I was so happy to finally get out. But I will say this, man, joining the military probably has been one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my entire life. And I know a lot of people, man, like a lot of people will sit back and I know a lot of people, man, like people will always assume that because I'm a recruiter that I'm always going to have something positive to say about the military. Like what I'm saying, I'm trying to talk others to join the military. I could give a fuck less what you do because there's multiple paths in life. All right, there's multiple paths to success. But I will say this, that if you're sitting at a crossroads, if you don't know what you want to do, if you don't want to be bought on the dream that everybody is getting sold and you want to take a chance on yourself, then join the military. If you want to see yourself for who you are without the influence of your environment, join the military. If you feel like you need order in your life, then join the military. If you feel like you need discipline, structure, then join the military. 100%. But at the exact same time, is the military for everybody? It's not. It's not. And I'm not here to try to talk anybody into it. I'm just telling you what I've learned and the big takeaways that I have. And I will always say that the military has been one of the biggest life hacks that I've ever been able to encounter. I've been able to travel the world. Have I encountered good leadership? Yes. Have I encountered shitty leadership? 100%. Have I encountered good people? Yes. Have I encountered shitty people? 100%. Has there been days where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Yes, there has. And has there been days where I'm like, I can't believe that I'm actually doing this? Yes. I sit back sometimes and I think to myself and I'm like, yo, like, who would I have been if I would have never joined the military? And that person I can't even put into my head. Like, I can't even form that because I'm so far removed from it. And those people that tried to talk me out of the military, everybody that did not believe in it, because I'm going to tell you right now, especially if you at the crossroads, especially if you about to give an idea that ain't never been heard of in your family, like it's the first in your family, people going to talk you out of it. But when they see success in it, When they see success in it, then they gonna keep you in it. And that's exactly what I mean is that after 14 years, I can't find nobody to talk me out of the military. But once again, that's just my experience. Has there been people that have had bad experience in the military? 100%, man. And I never take anything away from them. Well, I try to minimize it. But my experience, a kid from Detroit that didn't even read books became a published author. A kid that used to drive to school every day wondering if he could be on the radio hosting his own podcast. 14 years, being able to lead Marines, outstanding father, mentor to some, mentee to some. Come on, man. I will say one of the biggest takeaways is that it allowed me to see a version of myself that I didn't even know was even possible of creating. And I will always tell anybody that's ever contemplating on joining the military that the military will allow you to see a version of yourself that you never even thought was even possible. So with that being said, man, if you're at the crossroads, I would say always explore all of your options. Because just like in the very beginning of this, there's multiple paths to success. Whether you go into a trade, whether you go to college, whether you become an entrepreneur, start a band, or do whatever the fuck you want to do. But if you're at the crossroads, look at all of them and make the best decision that you can.
And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Don't forget to head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, and leave this podcast an honest review because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. Also, don't forget to head on over to TikTok or Instagram and follow me at Meech Speaks. That's right, Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled M-E-E-C-H. Stay motivated, stay healthy. I'm out.